Alright, what's going on? Another breakdown for another week of round robin. As always, gonna go over the team and then go straight into the matches. Some of them are downloaded, so I have to open them outside of this YouTube video. So I will include those near the end after I go over the ones that I recorded, since it's all in one video and that's pretty easy to do. So yeah, I'll get right into it. So just quickly going over my own team. This was basically built around sand. I think Tyranitar is actually very good right now, and I do think Garchomp has a place in the meta, but I think the way that I went about building the team was kind of wrong, in that I wanted to take advantage of Earthquake, which I thought was Garchomp's niche, I guess, over a lot of other things, but the way I ended up using it ended up just being a worse version of Excadrill. And you know, I do think that Tyranitar Garchomp is still good. Like, there's been multiple top results in random online tournaments for Reg H. It's just the particular way that I went about using it, I don't think it was a good idea. But there's still a logic behind how I built this team. Sand, I think, is pretty good right now because Rain is very dominant, and Tyranitar obviously overrides that and becomes very, very specially bulky, and it can get down important attacks into you can knock off Archaludon's Assault Vest, or get Snarls into it. Low kick does pretty good damage to it. But yeah, that was the thought process. It was mainly around those duos. I put Indeedee and Gardevoir on the team because I wanted terrain control against Rillaboom, because that obviously hurts Earthquake damage. And Indeedee's just a solid Pokemon overall. The safety goggle set is really good for stopping Amoonguss, and it has Follow Me support. Helping Hand was also a really interesting idea, I think, for Earthquake and Expanding Force. And Gardevoir seems like a really weird choice, but it makes sense over Armourouge in this team because it's got the telepathy ability, and it's one of the very few offensive fairy types in this format. So while I don't think it's great Pokemon, I think there is some niche it has, and yeah, it's not bad, honestly. Between Expanding Force and having a really strong Moonblast, I know some people are running Choice Scarf with Icy Wind and Trick and stuff like that, so this one is just a slower variant to Sweep and Trick Room. Very similar to Armourouge in terms of its role. It's just that the telepathy ability and fairy coverage was the reason that I used it over Armourouge. And then the Psychic Seed of Amoonguss I thought was actually kind of decent. It was actually Amoonguss is already a really tanky Pokemon, but having that Psychic Seed actually makes it if you switch it into Psychic Terrain, you can actually tank Expanding Force from Armourouge, which is really crazy. And yeah, it's just generally bulkier than a lot of people will give it credit for. I think overall Citrus Berry is probably still better, but it's a neat little tech that maybe has some potential, not sure yet, but yeah, Amoonguss is there for general support, and I mainly wanted it on the team because I wanted Clear Smog. I really like having Haze or Clear Smog or something to deal with Dondozo in setup. So Amoonguss filled that role, and then the last slot went to Gyarados. I did want a water type on this team, and Gyarados did fit the bill. It does have Terra Flying, Terra Blast for this set because flying coverage is pretty good in this format. And Gyarados is naturally a flying type anyway, so it kind of synergized with the Earthquake idea that I had. And so Gyarados ended up... I think the issue I have with Gyarados is it actually, like, on paper fulfills a lot of roles, but I think it just doesn't quite have the stat line I think that it needs to. Like, the typing and ability tend to lend itself to a more defensive set, which is great, but then you invest in defense, and then when you try to attack things, it just doesn't do as much damage. I mean, 176 attack with Waterfall is still hitting decently strong, but, like, I don't even think I could 2-hit KO, like, uninvested Goldango or something like that, so, yeah, I do think the Pokemon's good. I just don't think I'm using it correctly, and there's a lot of stiff competition for water types right now. But it is a pretty nice defensive tool against a lot of fire, water, grass cores right now. So yeah, that's about it for the team. I can always go over the spreads another time if you guys want, but I'm just going to hop into the games. I am going to mute the VODs this time. Try to change the playback speed. So yeah, my first match was against Ben, I think. Yes. And this is a matchup like when he submitted his team sheet, I was immediately, well, not only was I worried, I immediately realized I don't have things for Goldango. Like, yes, Gyarados can tank it, and Tyranitar can also tank it, but I don't really have a good way to remove it other than Garchomp, and Tailwind kind of ruins that. So, definitely an oversight in team sheet, and something I need to figure out for later, but yeah, Goldango was the main thing that I was worried about on this team. But yeah, I wasn't particularly worried about Zoroark or Farigiraf, which makes sense because I think those are there for specific matchups. I was mainly worried about Tailwind Goldango, and then what ended up being more problematic than I thought was the Primarina Decidueye, not particularly because of the swamp from the pledges. I think the main reason was that because Goldango was such a big threat, I'd already decided in my head that I needed to lead this to not immediately lose. It's a very passive lead in DD Amoonguss, and as you can find out, Amoonguss actually can't really do that much damage to either of these. You can't put him to sleep because of Terra Grass, so I knew this was going to be a passive lead. I kind of wanted to set Trick Room up and then sack one of my Pokemon and get Tyranitar in, but I think, and this is more of a personal problem, but I really don't love having to bring double support, because that means 2 out of your 4 Pokemon are supports, and they can get stuck in matchups where they don't do any damage. And so that kind of ends up happening where I feel like I played pretty decently. I just ran out of damage at the end. So he did a good job of conserving Goldango to the end because he knows the Amoonguss and Indeedee can't really do anything to Goldango. So, but yes, I think the main thing that I thought was that Amoonguss being able to survive Goldango was high value, but I kind of overestimated the clear smog damage I would have. He does go for the pledges here, indeed he survives. I go for clear smog because Terra Grass seems pretty obvious here, and I do need to get some damage down because I know that my damage isn't amazing. So yeah, the plan I had here was to let my Indeedee go down, I think, but I also realized that realistically I could probably switch Tyranitar safely in here since I have Rage Powder. But in hindsight, I think this is not... I actually think switching Gardevoir in here would have been better, because Tyranitar is the one Pokemon that can deal with Goldango. And yeah, we tank Hyper Voice pretty well. Triple Arrows gets a defense drop. I mean, really right now, Ben has no reason to switch out, and I think that's like a good decision by him. Like, even with Tyranitar in here, I don't know. There's not really that much threat on the Primarina or Decidueye. I mean, Primarina probably dies to... probably... Rock Slide Clear Smog maybe, but that's easily protected. But I think I end up going for it anyway. And I can't Rage Powder Decidueye, which is a big problem, so... Yeah, so he ends up going for Double Protect here, which makes sense, you know, stall out a turn of Trick Room, but he has a pretty free triple arrows here onto the Decidueye slot. And in hindsight, I really don't know why I brought Tyranitar in. Like, I had a really safe Gardevoir switch with the Moongus, and then Gardevoir definitely puts on way more pressure here. Uses the last turns of Trick Room a lot more effectively. But yeah, I'm forced to Terra here just to get away from the triple arrows. Primarina does go down, but like with Tyranitar so low, I don't have any gas left for Goldango. And something that I kind of underestimated was the foul play damage from Murkrow. Like, obviously it doesn't use Murkrow stats, but I for some reason didn't think it would be that much of an issue, but it actually did end up being an issue. So yeah, I think good plays from him targeting down the targeting down the Tyranitar, because that's like the one thing that can get rid of his Goldango. And you know, I of course don't know what's in the back right now, but in hindsight, I think it should have been pretty obvious. I should have just... Wait, did that crit? It did. There's no way that killed otherwise. Yeah. That might have mattered. I don't think so. I'd have to calc how much expanding force. No, it doesn't matter here. There were a couple. I think I brought in the wrong Pokemon at the wrong time. Like, Gardevoir should have been in a lot earlier. At the end there, I should have put in DD in earlier to get Trick Room back up before Goldango came in. So yeah, I decided to switch the lead up here. Tyranitar is still quite good, but it is a Terror Hog in this scenario because it needs to get away from the Decidueye. Gyarados is like... It's kind of my problem with Gyarados is like... It's usually like not useless, but it's never like super useful, I find. At least into this type of team. Because, like, what am I going to do here? I end up going for Taunt into Murkrow because I really don't want him to haze the Goldango for extra stuff. And he goes for the play here. Honestly, way more damage than I thought on the Tyranitar. But I guess I did Terror my... Actually, in hindsight, I don't know if I needed to Terror because... I think I lost my special defense boost from the sand, so... I mean, it probably would have done a little bit more, but I would still have my Terra, so... And here, yeah, that make it... not to make it rain, the foul play did so much damage, like... Super Dynatics like that. And now, you know, we're in a terrible spot. Because the problem here is with Tailwind up, Well, it's not just Tailwind. I think it's just, yeah, and Murkrow being faster means that it's actually threatening a lot of damage into Garchomp. And I end up going for the risk here and going for Swords Dance because I do feel like I'm behind, and to catch up I need some big hits. Wow, it did 50% even before the thing there. This turn was also really scary because I felt like it was a pretty obvious protect, but I think the only way I win at this point is for Garchomp to like super duper mega crit or something on Decidueye and whatever else comes in. Like, I don't really have any speed control left and my Pokemon are bulky enough, so. Yeah, there's really, I want to target down Primarina, but I don't have anything to hit it with on Garchomp, so. Because if I can get rid of Primarina, then Indeedee can probably beat Decidueye, but it's just not enough here. So yeah, I went for Waterfall because I was a little scared of Zoroark. I didn't want to waste, and I need to get damage in. And this turn, for some reason, was like Indeedee is slower than Primarina and Decidueye. Yeah, slower. So I was like, I don't know if I want to set Trick Room up like this. Or sorry, I thought Indeedee was faster, and so I didn't set Trick Room. But if I had set Trick Room right here, I think I actually could have possibly won this, because I know that I need Gyarados to get a double protect here to win, and I do get the double protect. It's just I didn't get the Trick Room up that I needed to, so. No, I think realistically I still lose there, because I think Goldango's still alive in the back, and, you know, I don't have any damage into it, so. Good stuff from Ben. I think he played his Goldango card very well. Just kind of conserving it as a threat, and not instantly blowing its everything. Like in game 2, it made sense to just go for it because, you know, Gyarados isn't really putting up any threat there, so. Move on to the next one. So me versus Aster. The most dangerous lead to me was Ninetales plus Samurott, because my plan was to switch Tyranitar into Ninetales to deny screens, because I think that's pretty important for my team. I don't have enough like juice to get through the screens early. I don't have enough bulk or anything like that, so that was my plan. And Ninetales plus Samurott could have been dangerous, because if they get a hard read onto the Tyranitar switch in and it goes down to Sacred Sword, I would be behind, but not necessarily over, because I know Gardevoir can survive whatever Samurott throws at it, other than a crit. But yes, other than that, I wasn't too scared of the Psy-Spam Mirror, because I have access to Helping Hand, and so that would push my damage over to a 2-hit KO on Armourouge from Gardevoir, so. If you actually compare the two, Armourouge's stat line is better. Gardevoir has the same special attack, so they're both hitting the same amount. Or they're both attacking off the same stat. But me having that Helping Hand on Indeedee made me pretty confident into that mirror, so. It ends up being double Indeedee, Samurott, Gardevoir. And in this scenario, there's nothing really to stop me from putting Trick Room up. I know that for sure that Samurott is faster. Wow, do I actually, yeah, I go for, do I really go for this? I guess so. This is super greedy, I think. Because the danger here is that they can double up into DD and then Trick Room just never comes up, but they end up switching out. That was so greedy for me. I don't know why I did that. I have a very safe follow me plus Trick Room, so. But it ends up paying off. Ninetales comes in. And at this point, because Trick Room is up, I don't really have anything to fear because I know I can kill Ninetales before it moves. And if you do not have an immunity to this, this is, you know, the Psi Spam Classic, Helping Hand, Terror, Psychic, Life Orb, Expanding Force, and Psychic Terrain. So, yeah, this is the example of what happens when Psi Spam gets going. And, you know, the Psi Spam as an archetype is like very one-dimensional. You know what it's going for most of the time. But, you know, if you're not prepared for it, this is what ends up happening. So that's why it's really nice. I mean, obviously she does have a dark type on the team, but okay, so game 2, I'm going with the same thing. I felt like it worked really well, and I don't feel like there's a great answer to it. And for her scenario, Samurott feels very important here. Just like it's your one expanding force immunity, you gotta take advantage of that. I do think if I'm her, I'm trying to get screens up, so yeah, you could do like DD Ninetales, you could do Sinister Ninetales, Samurott Ninetales. The problem is that you can get screens up, but it probably means that I'm going to get Trick Room up. So I think a good lead probably would be like in DD or Samurott plus Ninetales, so that way you get screens up. And you can always reverse the Trick Room because DD's not going to go down to whatever once the screen's up. So Samurott is a little bit riskier, but it at least puts some pressure on. Oops. Okay, so DD Ninetales, like I said, I like this lead. I don't. Okay, well, maybe what I just said, I actually forgot about the Tyranitar right here, so. That's funny, in my notes I wrote, I don't have to worry that much about screens because we have Tyranitar, so. I guess Samurott really was the key here to threaten the Tyranitar switch in, but it ends up working out for her. I like the switch in here. I'm knocking off the goggles, although it ends up killing anyway because I wanted to use a Moongus later. Yeah, so here I really realized that I don't want the screens to come up, but I don't really have I've got ways to stop it. I don't know why. Yeah, I guess I'm looking for a Samurott hit into guard wire, but I think. See, this is the problem with this team is I've got both my supports in, which is really not great. And because I've already switched Tyranitar in and not swapped it back out, this means that screens are available to come up here, which is what ends up happening. I've only got 2 turns of Trick Room left, so I'm very quickly running out of options. Very good Terra Steel there. Yeah, I don't really have a great damage through this. But I know I have a safe spore into that slot. And the critical hit here does matter. But honestly, maybe I would have rather it didn't crit. Hard to say, because having Glaceon sitting there on the field asleep might have been more beneficial than having this fresh Ninetales come in. I mean, I do know what happens here. I switch it in DD because I'm like, oh, I can easily get up Trick Room again here by doing Rage Powder. And then my DD gets frozen, so. Yeah, I think, when you're fighting against snow teams, you just kind of have to accept that this is going to happen. But, I mean, it's extremely hard to play around freeze, because, what are you realistically going to do other than kill the Blizzard users before it happens? And, this is Pokemon, so RNG is everywhere. But, yes, I mean, at this point, I can't really do anything. I need Trick Room to come up, or else I can't really get through this, I think. I guess the other option would have been switching in Tyranitar here, but with the Mungus so low, yeah, it's not very. It's not super great. I can redirect one attack from Samurott with the Mungus, and if I swapped DD into Tyranitar, I'd be able to hit, but I don't know, what am I supposed to hit with? I don't really have a good way of hitting the Samurott anymore, so I was really relying on that Trick Room to deal with this. And unfortunately, because the Aurora Veil stuff is still up, this low kick doesn't do anything. Yeah, so not much I can do there. I think the big thing is they did a good job of setting up screens in the mid game. I denied the first screens, but the second one I wasn't in position to stop. So that was good on them for sure. But I felt like I was in position to win that game once if I got NDD in and could Trick Room right there, but freeze happens, so what are you gonna do? So I end up going to the same thing, except I think Amoonguss felt not impactful enough, so I ended up going for Garchomp. So yeah, similarly, Indeedee Samurott instead of Indeedee Ninetales. This is a pretty safe Follow Me Trick Room. Yeah, we actually saw this lead last time, so I know I calced Indeedee has not died to Cecil's Edge as far as I know, or the percentage of it dying to it is really low, I think. Yeah, it's got a 6% to Oko, but she does go for the double up, I believe. Did she? Didn't actually see. Yeah, double up. So Indeedee goes down. I get Trick Room up, which is really nice. And Tyranitar comes in. Again, I don't have a great way to hit this Terra Steel. Do I protect here? Yeah, so my thought is I don't. This feels greedy. This feels very greedy. I mean, it ends up working out, but my thought here is that I can't really let Tyranitar and Gardevoir take too much damage. I do have Garchomp in the back, but if it has to come in under Trick Room, it's going to be bad. And it already has bad matchups into the Ninetales and Glaceon. So, yeah, a little bit greedy there in my opinion, but ends up working out. I think Samurott will go down to another Expanding Force here. Knockoff. And, there's no screens up right now. There's not really much that they can do to protect themselves, so taking the double KO there makes sense. The Snow Duo comes in, which is scary, but only because Snow Cloak, Bright Powder, but I end up hitting past it, which is very nice. There are still 2 turns of Trick Room, so even if they double protect here, they still have to survive 1 turn of Trick Room. And yeah, so they go for Substitute. I think Substitute is an underutilized move because it gets past Amoonguss, but you need space to set it up, so it's really good on Pokemon that can force switches, but I think Glaceon is not really threatening that much because it's really only got Ice type attacks, which, it's a great offensive type for sure, but you have to bring it in on something that really doesn't want to take an Ice type attack, and it's, Terra exists, so Terra existing is both its greatest strength and its biggest weakness. So me versus Silver. Actually, well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think about what I could say for Aster there in the last matchup. I think the Ninetales lead made sense, and Samurott was very key. I liked the game too, where you got to put screens up again, even if the first one was denied. I don't think the matchup was very good for you to bring Sinistcha, so your brings all make sense to me, except maybe bring Armourouge. It's hard to say. I don't know. It's kind of hard to position. I think both of our teams were kind of hard to position, but yeah, I mean, you're working on your team already, so I won't try and suggest things that you could add in or something like that. So me versus Silver, I felt like I knew that Rain couldn't come up because Tyranitar is slower than Pelipper, and once the sand is up, Tyranitar shrugs off most of this damage. Most of this team, really, other than Outrage from Dragonite. So I can kind of just fire off a Snarl here and drop the special attack. And Gardevoir is pretty specially tanky. I would have liked to see, well, hard to say. I think if you have Incineroar in the back, I would definitely switch Pelipper for Incineroar. But it's hard to say because you don't know if Indeedee's in the back, although, Gardevoir's out, then you can kind of guess that Indeedee is in the back, so I'm starting to, I feel kind of bad because I told you to take Wide Guard off, but I'm starting to feel like Wide Guard might still be very good in this format. I do think, I'd have to look at your set, but I think you have Tailwind on it, which, you already have Whimsicott, and you don't have many Pokemon to take advantage of the Tailwind. So I think Wide Guard on Pelipper might be the play, especially if you have another Tailwind user. I was like, oh, there's no Flutter Mane or Chi-Yu in this format, or, Regidrago or Calyrex, but I severely underestimated the amount of, Make It Rain and Hyper Voice and all this other stuff that would be around. So expanding force, obviously. So it's still, I think not only does it have high value, but it's actually quite good because lots of gold dangos really like locking in to make it rain, obviously, and being able to have a switch in that can wide guard and completely block Goldango from doing anything because it's locked into wide guard and force it to switch out is really crucial. It can create some good checkmate situations. So this right here I thought was pretty good because you get Incineroar in, you taunt the Indeedee so there's no more follow me pressure, and then you send out your second dark type. So expanding force is off the table here. Obviously I can still go for Moonblast, but you know, Indeedee can't do anything. Like, it literally can't damage this Pokemon, so you get a nice switch there. Unfortunately, the Water Shuriken gets blocked by Psychic Terrain. I know he said he forgot that, but yeah, it's a little unfortunate. But so right here, Garchomp has no reason not to just Sword Stance. Like, they literally can't really hit it. Ampharos, like, actually can't hit it other than Meteor Beam, which takes 2 turns, and by that time Garchomp can just Earthquake it once Trick Room runs out. And so, you know, I think this is pretty much a checkmate position. Like, Incineroar is not going to be able to kill Garchomp before it gets a Sword Stance and do an Earthquake up. And Tyranitar is still very tanky because it has the Assault Vest plus the Sand boost, so Ampharos can't really take it down either. So yeah, I think once you're at this spot, it's a little bit, it's kind of over. So same lead, you'll notice I've talked about this before. I have a lead in mind and I think it works, and I'm going to go for it. Let's see. I think he actually ends up leading pretty well here. Whimsicott Dragonite. Dragonite can get whatchamacallit up here, Dragon Dance. I mean, I can Rock Slide, but it's not going to one-hit KO it. Oh, maybe I should have. Yeah, this. Maybe I should have just doubled into the Dragonite, actually. This ends up being a little annoying because I like the second Dragon Dance there, honestly, but yeah, the Misty Terrain being up is actually kind of a problem, so this is a good way to deal with Trick Room is getting your setup on the turns that, you know, they're messing around trying to set it up. It's just unfortunate that I think Dragonite doesn't have the right typing for this. And, you know, obviously you don't want to be faster in Trick Room, but what are you going to do, right? Yeah. I'm trying to think what I would have thought here. I would have liked to see Incineroar here, actually. Like, if you bring Incineroar, being able to taunt Indeedee is really valuable. And then you have a pretty free, whatchamacallit, parting shot. And any special attack drop you can get on the expanding force user is really nice. So I know that we're in the middle of changing your team, and I think we're hopefully going to come up with something that feels a little bit better for you. But I do agree that it feels kind of hard to position your team given that Incineroar is really the only like glue holding things together. And by that, what I mean is each of the Pokemon individually function, and like they can synergize with one another, but you have to also think about the positioning, I think, which is really important into, especially for Pokemon like Greninja or Pokemon that could potentially get stuck into matchups where they just can't do any damage, like Dragonite or Ampharos. So having those Pokemon like Rillaboom and Incineroar that can easily swap around and disrupt is like, I find it makes the game so much easier. Like, it just feels so nice being able to position rather freely. Obviously, you don't have to use those Pokemon, but I think it makes the game easier playing with those Pokemon, or you need to be confident in taking the trades that you need to. So, yeah. So this is Ben versus Silver, which let's see what happens here. Okay, yeah. This is definitely a knowledge check. Like we talked about earlier, nobody really uses pledges, so you'd have no idea that it's about to lower your speed. Because actually, I think there's a pretty safe Hurricane. Well, it's not safe, but Hurricane does a huge. It probably, yeah, Hurricane kills Decidueye 100%, and Primarina tears to grass in fear of an electric type attack. So you can technically do a sort of pin there where you go for Thunder onto Primarina, and then you also click Hurricane into it. And so if it defensive tears, then it will, whatchamacallit, it will die either way. And, obviously Protect could ruin that, but I think that is something to keep in mind for next time you play against the Pledge Pokemon, is that they both have to use the move that turn. So, like, Decidueye can't use Grass Pledge and Primarina protects. I mean, Grass Pledge will go off, but it's like a really weak move on its own, coming off of Decidueye. So, being able to create that pin is what most people would call it, where you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, is a good thing to think about. Because even if they protect here, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Decidueye gets a free Leaf Blade or Triple Arrows into Ampharos, and it probably lives, so. Kind of knowledge checky, but what are you going to do? So yeah, the speed control is no longer in your favor, and Goldango coming out is really rough. Unfortunately, Fake Out does not do anything to Goldango. I'm actually kind of surprised he went for Trick there. So you do have to swap. Yeah, you got to swap Incineroar here, but wait. Oh no, you can lock into a new move. That's right, I forgot. So he locks into Taunt. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of rough. Like, you're locked into Taunt, and Tailwind is still up. Goldango's going to tear through most of your team, so. I think the thing about fighting Goldango is, again, that Wide Guard would be really nice, so I'm going to recommend that you put it on there. I'll DM you later. And, I think, trying to think the other thing that I was going to say. Yeah, I think once you replace the Greninja, you might find it a lot easier. Because I think Greninja is hogging a lot of resources right now, and it's kind of... the payoff for it is not really great. Dragonite Pelipper. You got a Terra Flying here. Okay, so the Grass Pledge comes up. I like that you went for Hurricane. That was really good in my opinion. Yeah, this feels so knowledge checky. Like, there's no way you would have known. Because, like, Swamp means that you basically will never have speed control unless you have Trick Room. It's just too much speed drop. It's like minus, like, it's like 3/4 speed or something. It's just way too much. I do think you took a better approach in this game in that you realize that Pelipper offensively is actually very good. It's really good into the Fire, Water, Grass course right now. And you can see that in that both games he was forced to Terra. So it's really putting on the pressure with the Hurricane. So... yeah, honestly, I think Wide Guard would have made a big difference. And I do apologize for, you know, telling you otherwise. But I think my opinion has changed, So this next one, Aster versus Ben. And then I think Silver versus Aster, right? Yes. Okay, so... sorry, I wasn't watching. Sidgewite Primarina comes in. Okay. Trick Room. Yeah. Okay, you know what? This I really like this lead that you did because you know that they're not going to be able to kill you before screens come up. The next turn is the hard part because, like I said, you don't really have a way to pivot, so you just kind of have to sack and hope your back two Pokemon are enough. And luckily for you, you did bring the two back Pokemon that I think are the most important here. Yeah. That was, yeah, I mean, that's what happens sometimes. That was a good call on the... Ninetales and DD felt like a really nice lead there because Ninetales is going to get a Roar Veil up no matter what because there's no priority or anything like that. So being able to call that out was really nice. And then once you get the screens up, you get Trick Room up, and then even whatever happens next, I think Armarouge and Glaceon are strong enough to kill anything. So, well played. Trying to find the other replay. There we go. Game 2. Ninetales and DD. So he's got to change it here. Goldango is 100% the right lead because now you've got an issue where, oh, the fucking Zoroark. So he does Trick, and Screens and Trick Room are still up here. What does he go for here? Hyper? Oh, second Nasty Plot. Ceaseless Edge. Huh. This still looks good for you, right? Depends on what the back two are. Primarina Decidueye. Yeah. Wait, how does this go badly, no? Oh, double protect on Trigger. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, and then you just run out of gas here. I mean, the flinch doesn't help, but it's kind of over at this point. So what is the play here? Is this a game that you said you brought the wrong Pokemon? Because if so, that actually made a big difference. Like, having Armors here over Samurott would have been massive. Yeah, if this was the game that you were talking about, I think you probably would have won. And on Ben's side, like, well, okay, I do think if Armors is here, then you win. Because I think Heat Wave kills, and then Zoroark is not going to be able to kill Armors. Well, it's a Zoroark is slower than Ninetales? I actually don't know. Yeah, it is. Oh wait, no it's not. Depends on what nature he's running. Let's see. So if you were to Heat Wave there. Oh, Ninetales is slower than Zoroark. Yeah, you would have won. I'm just calling it how it is. Because, well, you would have won as long as Heat Wave connected with Zoroark. Because it would have killed both of them, and then you still have Trick Room up. And then this would have been 2 turns of Trick Room because you would have killed them a turn earlier. And then Armors would have dealt with both of them because he has no more Terror left. That is pretty funny. Like, you were actually close to 2-0ing him. We'll see the adjustment here if he does the same thing that I'm thinking. He did not. Wait, did that just kill with no crit? Probably, right? Let's see here. Make it rain. Yeah, no crit. Name. Zam. Critical hit, foul play. Follow me, Haze. Yeah. This all makes sense. Armor should have a little bit more HP than it actually does right now because of that crit. Standing Force gets blocked. Protect. This shouldn't kill, yeah. Yeah, that's... I don't know what the... This is a really tough turn. I think you gotta protect with Ninetales. Well, no. Honestly, Ninetales going down here is not a big issue. Yeah, the problem here is the pre-marina because it hits around the follow me. And did you already tear? No, you didn't tear yet. You know what? That crit might have mattered because I think if you tear grass, then you don't die to hyper voice for sure because you should be at like 50% HP or something like that, maybe 45. And so I think with Terra Grass and Veil, there's no way you die this turn. He does a good play here, protecting. Yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, I'd probably go for Heat Wave here because you know that Expanding Force isn't going to kill this thing in one hit. And so you may as well get a little bit of chip into Murkrow as well. That's not a big deal, honestly. Yeah, the crit mattered. Like, Armor should be alive here, and Premier should have died right here. Well, no, it doesn't matter. I think you kill the Primarina, but Glaceon's never beating Murkrow plus whatever's in the back. I don't even know what it was, but I assume it was Decidueye. Yeah. I think you're running into the issue with what is called the 2-2-2 teams, which you have like a 2-2 type team where they feature these really strong duos, but if you start fighting them outside of those duos, they're not very good. So it takes a lot of really good positioning and knowledge to know those, and so yeah, I don't blame you for that one. I'm just going to download both of these. Okay, so this is the last matches. Aster versus Silver, Pelipper, Ampharos. Wait. Okay, that must have been a blunder, forgetting that the rain is up. Okay. I think you're probably fine for next time, but I think next time I would definitely hit into the Ninetales, because you can prevent the screens from coming up right here. I would probably go for Volt Switch, probably, even though you're going to lose your special attack boost by switching out. 100% accurate guarantees a hit on the Ninetales, and if it protects, then whatever, you get Incineroar in, and that's good for next turn. I like the Incineroar switch in, honestly. I just think you could have, instead of protecting here, you just hit the Ninetales because, you know, Glaceon's going to hit you first because it's really slow. Actually, I don't actually know. You might be slower. Either way, I think you're going to hit before Ninetales. So if you get that Volt Switch, you KO it before the screens come up. If it protects, no big deal. You're in a good spot for next turn. Okay. Oh, no. I mean, I don't think it mattered, but... Greninja Incineroar. Okay, nice. Nice, well played. So, I think if you're Aster, I'm not sure this matters. I'm not even sure Aura Sphere kills Incineroar. Maybe it does. Probably does. Last turn, instead of targeting Greninja, I actually think you Terra Grass and Aura Sphere Incineroar. Because you kind of feel like Protect is the obvious play here, but the other thing is that Incineroar doesn't have Protect. It can't really stop, or it can't protect itself, so not only do you, it seems like a hard read the Greninja protecting, but realistically the Water Shuriken isn't really going to hurt that much, so you get a KO on Incineroar and at least give yourself a better chance. Now, it does open you up to Ice Beam, which I'm not sure how much damage it does. Oh god, Greninja lives? That's crazy. Okay, you know what, never mind. Aura Sphere doesn't kill Incineroar. If Greninja lived there, there's no way that Incineroar dies from that range. You're beginning to see why VGC doesn't have nearly as many coverage moves as singles. Close battle, though. It was really close. Again, it's hard for me to give super good feedback because I know both of your teams are about to change pretty drastically. Nice. I like this actually a lot. Oh my god, the miss. I would be so sad. And on Aster's end, you kind of are figuring out why people run Trick Room on Armorage, because Follow Me plus Trick Room is really hard to deal with. So that kind of gets rid of the danger of getting taunted. Like, yes, your D will get taunted, but you still get your Trick Room up. And I think having that option is more valuable to me than having Aura Sphere, like, or Scorching Sands. I know they're both, like, special ground and fighting moves are really rare, and so they're quite good, but I think realistically you're not getting enough damage off with it to really matter, so yeah, having that option there to get your Trick Room up, because now you're in trouble. I think, like, you got to spend another turn getting Trick Room up. You'll probably get it up because Sinistcha is not really in danger of dying here, but you know, against faster paced teams, I think you realize that's going to be an issue. Volt Switch, pretty good. I like that. Oh wow, Aura Sphere would have killed Incineroar there. That's crazy. I guess Greninja's a little tankier than I thought. And the thing is a problem. The Psychic Terrain blocking Water Shuriken. I like the parting shot there. And on Aster side, you're having a hard time hitting these dark types. Like the Greninja and the Incineroar are really rough for Armors to hit. Especially since, you know, it can't really... You do have Aura Sphere, but I don't feel like it's very sustainable, so... God, this thing does no damage, man. It does kill the resisted Sinistcha there, which is really nice, but that is Terra Water Rain boosted Water Shuriken, so... Yeah, pretty well played from Silver. I think what you discovered there is that you can just put on enough offense and sort of smother them trying to switch around. And for Aster, it's, it felt like you were really struggling to position between the DD, Sinistone, and Armors. And so, yeah, it's kind of the problem with running double support. It's pretty tough. But, like I said, teams are going to change very quickly soon. So, no point in dwelling on it. We already went over Silver versus Ben. So I believe that is it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I expect to see shiny, brand new teams next time we play. I'll definitely give you guys some advice on that if you want. And yeah, should be exciting for the next one. See ya.